Alright, so for today's tutorial, we'll be going over how to make a chainmail belt. Specifically, a chainmail armor belt. In the first two videos are just showcasing the belts I've made, and then right here you can see how the belt is worn and used. It's quite stylish. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make the rings, and for that I use bolt cutters of varying sizes, and I also use a 3/8 steel dowel. Specifically, the wire I'll be using is 14 gauge galvanized steel wire, but you can also use 16 gauge and whatever type of metal you want. The reason for 14 gauge or 16 gauge is because it is thick enough to actually hold itself together while being light enough to wear. The top belt is made of 16 gauge, the bottom belt is made of 14 gauge, but the one thing they both have in common is they both have an inner ring diameter of 3/8 of an inch. Now, this is just a quick overview of the belts and the materials you'll need. Part 2 of how to make a chainmail armor belt, specifically in the 6-in-1 pattern. So for this style of belt specifically, you're going to want to make it using the European 6-in-1 pattern. So what you'll do is first start off with taking an open ring, and you'll link in 6 closed rings, basically 3 on each side. Once you have your 6-in-1 unit, you'll want to take an open ring, link 2 closed rings into it, and then link that open ring into the 4 bottommost rings of the 6-in-1 unit. Once you have that squared away, just rinse and repeat. Keep doing it until you have the proper length that you want. Come back for part 3, where we will be going over how to add the sides and add a little flair or decoration. Welcome to part 3 of making a chainmail armor belt. For this part of the tutorial, I will be using a smaller piece of a belt just for simplicity's sake. So, first things first, you will need your main belt rings, and then your decorative belt rings. Those can be brass, bronze, copper, etc. And then you will need the belt buckles for later on. That will be covered in part 4. For this specific tutorial, I'll be using bronze rings for the decorative elements just because that's what I have more of on hand. So first you add to the very top of the belt your first jump ring, you loop it through 3 rings, then you do the same. It's basically like adding to the main body of the belt, but instead of having a full unit, you just do 1 ring. Then you add your decorative element. I specifically do 2 steel rings, and then 1 decorative ring, and then another 2 steel rings, and then another decorative ring. And just rinse and repeat until you have that all the way down the side, then you go for the other side. Welcome to part 4 of how to make a chainmail armor belt. In this part of the tutorial, we will be looking at how to make the tip of the belt as well as hook it to the buckle. So for this first part, you're going to want to add in 1 decorative ring to the very front. This will be the very tip of the belt. Then you're going to want to remove the 2 side rings that are aligned with it. As soon as you remove that ring, you'll want to replace it with a ring that is 1/4 inch diameter. And then you're going to want to hook the 3 top side rings with one other 1/4 inch diameter ring. This is so that way the rings don't fly around. Then repeat with the other side and you have your tip. Next, for the buckle, you're going to want to add 2 additional rings that go a little wider, so you're widening the belt. This is because, for me, my belt buckles are from the Ring Lord, so they're pretty large. Unfortunately, I don't have really the time to show how to attach the buckle, so use this photo for reference.